going on, guys? Aaron here with Pierre. We're going to run down, this is episode 9, we're going to run through our season predictions now that OTAs have ended. I think this will be round 1 of our season predictions. Maybe we'll come back to this after a couple preseason games and we see these guys in pads and get a little better feel for it. But for now, we didn't have much to talk about football related, so we want to take this opportunity to give you guys our season predictions and maybe argue a little bit. So what's happening, Pierre?
What's going on, Aaron? Yeah, man, it's definitely one of those topics that a whole bunch of fans, can think differently on. I'm saying we're going 16-0, man. How about you?
Well, Vegas says, 6.5 wins is what Vegas just released for the Bills this year.
Yeah.
And Vegas is pretty spot on. Before I really took a look at the schedule, I was saying they're a 5 to 6 win team. But after digging into the schedule the other night for this show, I'm actually saying they could maybe win 7 to 8 games. But some of those games might be me just being a wishful fan.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
So let's dig right into it, man. We got a real exciting week 1. The NFL gave us the Patriots at home week 1 with this new squad. So what's your thoughts on that game?
Well, I think it's actually perfect that we play the Patriots week 1, only because, they don't know exactly what we're going to be doing on offense. They somewhat know on defense, based on the Jets. I think we're going to win this game only because it's week 1. They have no idea, what to expect. And if we're going to play the Patriots, what better way than playing them week 1? We tend to always have success. Well, not always, but, we've had success, playing them week 1. So I think we're going to win that game.
So this one is one of those ones where it's my wishful fan coming out. I do agree that they don't really know what we're going to be throwing at them as they have in years past. And the way I see the Patriots shaping up, I follow the Pats quite a bit. I think they're going to have a slow start to the season, while I still think they'll be the perennial playoff team that the Patriots typically are. I think they're going to have a slow start with Gronk having these multiple surgeries, Wes Welker being gone, new weapons that they have on offense. So I think they're going to have a slower start to the season, and I think all the excitement and the energy in Ralph Wilson could carry the Bills to a win. With that said, again, it's my wishful fan. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills lose this game just because the Pats are so experienced and they've been doing it for so long. But it would be a great way to start the season.
Oh, my God, yes.
That place would be rocking, man. The whole town will be rocking. So I'm going to go ahead and give them 1 win against the Patriots this year, and I'm going to put that on week 1 and really start the season off right. But then everybody in Buffalo is going to be talking Super Bowl after 1 win. So I'm not ready for that.
We're going 16-0 after that, man.
So that's going to be a great game. I'm glad the NFL started us off with the Pats, though. Win or lose, that's going to be a fun way to start the season. So.
Yeah.
And then week 2, we're back at the Ralph with the Panthers and Cam Newton coming into town, a team we don't know a lot about, and could be a pretty interesting matchup. What are your thoughts there?
The Panthers are definitely a tough matchup, only because, Cam Newton, he's an explosive player, man. He's pretty hard to defend. Now, their defense, they started off, pretty slow, and then, they picked it up, later during the season. Their rookie linebacker is an absolute stud, Luke Kuechly. I do feel because, we're at home, and depending on, the quarterback play and our defensive, scheme that's supposed to be having, I do feel that, we could win that game as well.
I marked this one as a win. I think it's a toss-up game. It's one of those games where we don't really know the Panthers. Even the vets that have been here, we haven't really played the Panthers in a while, 4 years, obviously. So it's definitely a toss-up game. I don't think you can look at the Panthers' record from last year and say that's the team we're going to play, because they did finish the season very strong. Cam Newton had a tough start to the year, and that defense had a tough start. And they ended up coming out and finishing pretty strong. And they're in a tough division too, so some of those losses just come from playing against better teams. So I think it's a toss-up, but I am going to give us the win on that, putting us at 2-0 after week 2. And man, that Super Bowl talk's going to be
oh my God! Like I said, man, 16-0, baby. I know.
Then we go week 3 as our first road game against the hated New York Jets, and which is going to be our first AFC East game. So what's your predictions there?
Do I even have to even say anything, man? I mean, now, all right, the Jets, they gave us a nice, ass whooping week 1 last year, so I got to give them credit on that. I think it just really gets based on who's going to be the quarterback. Because Geno Smith, we don't really know what to expect with him. I know, we play them week 3, so if he is the week 1 starter, then we'll have 2 weeks to gauge on like how he is or whatever. But it's the Jets, man. I mean, the Jets seem like they have no idea what they're doing. But I do think that if we do lose within the first 4 weeks, it could be this one. We kind of overlook the Jets, where at the same time, they're kind of like a sleeper team that, everyone thinks they're going to be bad. Besides all that, I say we're going to win week 3 just because it's the Jets, man, and their offense is absolutely horrible.
And I think, the Jets always play us tough, no matter what their roster looks like.
Yep.
My prediction is that Geno Smith is going to be the starter after training camp. And that'll kind of put them in a similar situation to the Bills. I mean, they had a similar record. They, had similar ups and downs throughout the year. And they're going to be riding a rookie quarterback. And that should be an interesting battle itself, the fact that Geno Smith was supposed to be the first taking quarterback, and it was E.J. Manuel. So I know Geno's got a chip on his shoulder or whatever, and E.J. also has something to go out there and prove. It is a division game. I think Mike Pettine's going to be up for this game because it's, against his alma mater.
Definitely good point.
So I think he'll be up to face Rex. I think they kind of know what our defense is going to be like, so that kind of gives them an advantage over some of the teams we're playing.
That's true.
So this could be a better game than people, us fans are looking at and saying, hey, the Jets aren't that good. But AFC East games, man, you never know. But I am going to go ahead and give Buffalo the win, putting them at 3-0.
I'm like surprised, man. I mean, okay.
The Jets can't stop C.J. Spiller. That is something that we know.
That is very true.
Even in the loss, C.J. Spiller went off on him. We just didn't give him the ball. I was at the game last year at home, week 17, and C.J. went off on him. Even though that was a close game, he won that game for us. So he's going to give them problems. I think our defense is going to give any rookie quarterback an issue. But I do see that being a very close game. I don't see that being a high-scoring game at all.
Yep. That's true, man.
And then back up to the Ralph, man. 3 out of the first 4 games in the Ralph in the nice weather, which is kind of nice for us this year. Taking on the defending Super Bowl champs, who had a little bit of a revamp roster this year after the Super Bowl. What do you think about your hometown Ravens down there coming up to Buffalo?
Yeah, Ravens. Super Bowl champs. This is going to be one of those games where, based off our record and us playing them at home, if we do go 3-0, we're going to be up for this game, man. The Ravens, Joe Flacco, he tends to struggle against defenses who are aggressive. I'm a big fan of Flacco's, but without having his security blanket and Anquan Bolden, who knows how he's going to be. Torrey Smith, he's kind of off and on, but if you can shut him down, who's their other receiver? Jacoby Jones. I mean, he's been proven that he hasn't really been a reliable wide receiver. Now, Ray Rice, he can be trouble. If our run defense isn't, up to par, then, he can definitely torch us. And then on defense, I mean, they brought in some young guys, but, they lost 2 veterans, man. 2 guys who were their defense, for the past decade, man. So, I mean, but I think if we're going to lose, man, it's definitely going to be this one, man. So I'm going to give them the loss week 4 against the champs.
Yeah, I think everybody's sleeping on the Ravens because of what they lost. But, Ravens are really the new Steelers, where the Steelers year in and year out would lose guys, but they drafted well, and they had guys ready to step up and play. I think the Ravens are still going to be good. I think they're going to have to fight for the division in their own division. But I think they're going to come into Buffalo and get the win week 4. I think Ray Rice is a dynamic back. He can cause a lot of problems. Their 2 tight ends can cause the Bills a lot of issues. Torrey Smith can cut open the Bills, depending on what our safety situation is between Smith and what's the other receiver you just mentioned there?
Jacoby Jones.
Jacoby Jones. I think those guys can really torch us depending on what our safety situation looks like. So I think we're vulnerable for a loss in week 4, and I'm going to go ahead and give them the loss. And for me, you're going to hate where this goes from here in the season, but I think that loss really brings a trickle-down effect going into the next couple of weeks. So,
okay.
Then we go over to the Browns for a primetime Thursday night game in Cleveland, which I know there's going to be a lot of blue in the crowd for that game. So what are your thoughts primetime, man?
Well, as we all know, man, we always play well on primetime games, man. And for us to have, the Browns, where, I wouldn't say we've dominated our last couple meetings, but, we had beat. And I do think that this might be one of our easiest wins, in my opinion. Prime time, Brandon Wheaton, he's somewhat average. And like I said, man, I'm predicating a lot of our wins, just based off our defense alone. So I think our defense is gonna give Brandon Wheaton trouble. They don't really have receivers that, scare anybody. Their running back is solid, but in my opinion, man, that's all they have, man. Their defense really isn't that great. And I think, CJ Spiller is going to do what he did, last year to the Browns. Our offense, in my opinion, might have their best outing, man. So they're going to rebound off of the Ravens win and absolutely demolish the Browns, in my opinion.
I'd have to go back and check some of the stats on the past Browns games against the Bills, but from what I remember, they've been pretty close games against the Browns, and we seem to play down to the competition when it comes to playing Cleveland. What should be easy wins don't appear to be for me, but again, I'd have to go back and look at some of those. And if I remember correctly, I
know there was one game. Yeah, I know there was one game where it was like 6-3 or something like that, and a couple of close games. But the game that we played them last year, the score was close. But if you saw the game, it wasn't really. The Browns scored late in the game, but the score didn't kind of dictate, how the game was actually played.
Right, but Trent Richardson really, that was an early season game, I believe, too.
Yeah,
And he put it to us.
Yep.
Quite a bit, and that was before he got going. And their offense was really able to do more than I thought they should be able to do. But again, our defense was very lackluster last year. So I do have the Browns winning this game in prime time. I just think that it's a way. I think the Browns are going to be up for this. I think they made some pretty good moves in the offseason. I think Kruger is really going to be a big addition to their defense. I really like their cornerback, Hayden, and I think the Browns are on the right path to being competitive in their division. I don't think they'll make the playoffs this year, but I think they're going to pull out some solid victories, and I think those cornerbacks are going to give E.J. Manuel some trouble. Again, this is one of those toss-up games. I had a lot of those toss-up games, so a couple of them.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry to cut you off. Did you say E.J. Manuel is gonna be starting that week, man? Are you already giving him the starting job week 1?
Well, I'm assuming because I got the jersey.
So I was just about to say that. I was about, man.
I put money on it now, so
there we
he
go,
better
man.
be.
You're all in now, man.
Yeah, right. But again, I came through this schedule and I saw some toss-up games, and some of them had to go the Bills' way, and some of them had to go the other team's way. And in my own opinion, like the Panthers one, I could have given that to the Panthers, and I brought it to the Bills. So this was one of those ones that I had to go back on and say, do I really think the Bills are going to be a 10-11 win team? I hope so, but I think that we'll lose some games that they should win just because of how young they are.
Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, it's like I said, man. Primetime games. We've always played well. We haven't won them all, but we've always played well primetime games.
Right. I think it'll be a fun game.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's going to be electric, man.
Right. Right. And so that puts that's week 5. So I'm at 3-2, and you're at 4-1.
Yes, sir.
All right. I hope you're right, man. And then we come back to the Ralph for what I think is gonna be one of the more difficult games on the schedule. We actually have a pretty tough schedule when you start breaking it down this
Yeah.
season. It's not like last year. And I heard John Murphy's show, and they were talking about the Vegas odds, and they're like, "Yo, well, we won 6 games last year. We should be able to win 2 more." But if you look at our strength of schedule last year, we also had a very easy schedule in some of those games, playing the Cardinals and playing some of these teams. So again, Bengals coming to the Ralph. Bengals look pretty good last year. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that the Bengals are a team that is very, very scary. Their defense has always been solid. Now Andy Dalton, he's a bit inconsistent, but he's a solid quarterback. AJ Green. I think the pickup of that tight end, was it Eifert?
Eifert.
Yeah, yeah. That was a sleeper pick. Now, not knowing how they're going to run their offense, they're going to have the 2 tight end set. We've always struggled against the Patriots in regards to those 2 tight end sets. I want to say we're going to win this game, but I'm giving them the loss right here against the Bengals.
Yeah, I am as well. I think the Bengals are just a step or two ahead of where the Bills are at in their turnaround to being a competitor. I think the Bengals took a big step forward the last couple years, and I think this is going to be a big year for them to potentially win the division. I think they're in the running to win their division. I think Dalton, having a few years under his belt, knows a lot of the defenses, and while our defense may be different and throw some things at him, I think he's more prepared to handle it than he has been. AJ Green just seems unstoppable to me.
Yeah,
I think I love Stephon Gilmore, but he's going to cause us some matchup issues. I think the 2 tight ends are going to cause us some big matchup issues. And I see them as having a really solid season this year, and putting the Bills back down to earth after all the Super Bowl talk the first 3 weeks here.
Yeah, yeah. Now just real quick though, I think if we do beat the Bengals, it's going to be because we were able to shut down the running game. I mean, they don't really have a running back. I know they drafted one, but it doesn't seem like they figured out that position yet. So
Yeah.
if we do beat them, because remember they only have one stud wide receiver. So if Gilmore plays his best game against AJ Green, we're able to shut down the running game. We could beat the Bengals. I mean,
Right.
we're supposed
But then
to
they
beat
have
them.
right.
I mean, yeah. So
The tight ends as well, though. I mean, it's not like they're not a multiple threat
exactly.
team. And people look at the Bills roster, and even though we drafted Robert Woods and Goodwin and have T.J. Graham, and all of us in Buffalo, like, wow, we're stacked at wide receiver. Other teams, I think, look at us and say, well, they only have one receiver, and then they have C.J. Spiller, and they don't even see us as having a legitimate tight end. So maybe there's guys on their roster that are about to step up, and we just don't follow the Bengals enough. But I do see what you're saying. I think if we beat the Bengals, it's going to be because of turnovers.
Exactly.
I think if the defense is aggressive and can get Andy Dalton to make 2 to 3 mistakes, and the Bills can capitalize, and I think that's any game this year. I think if the defense can create turnovers and allow the offense to make plays, then I think they can win almost any game they're in. But after that Bengals, my record goes to 3-3.
And I'm 4-2. Yeah.
And then you're 4-2. So. And then let's see, heading down to Miami for our first showdown with another AFC East rival down in Miami, who made a ton of moves this offseason. So a little bit of a different team down there. Their fans are excited. How do you feel about that game?
The Miami Dolphins. Oh man. Okay. Where do I start? They try to buy a championship this offseason. Mike Wallace, in my opinion, is probably the most overrated wide receiver in the whole entire NFL. He doesn't run routes. All he does is just, run 9 routes. Now, Brian Hartline, he's a sleeper stud. He's one of those, wide receivers that, I wouldn't say because he's white, people sleep on him, but he doesn't get enough respect that he should.
I agree.
But Ryan Tannehill, I don't know, man. I mean, he had in my opinion, a below average season last year. He had 13 touchdowns with like 15 picks. So I mean, he had a pretty below average season. They got rid of their playmaker on offense last year in Reggie Bush. So as of right now, this offseason, it seems like they don't really have a running game. And their defense, in my opinion, is not going to be that much better than what it was last year. I mean, they picked up the guy from the Ravens, Ellerby, and he was a part-time player. I mean, he couldn't even win a starting job for the Ravens. I know Ray Lewis was there. It would have been hard for him to, beat out Ray Lewis, but they ran in 3-4, and he was somewhat of a part-time guy there. So I don't really think that with signing him up, they're going to be that much better. I would want to say because we're playing them there that they could win, but I just feel that our first meeting against the Dolphins with that offense and defense, I don't know, man. I think we got this game, man. I think we're going to beat the Dolphins week 6.
Again, I think it's an AFC East game, so all AFC East games are a toss-up. They no matter what the rosters are, they always play each other tough. I don't believe that Miami is going to be a Super Bowl contender just because of what they brought in the offseason. I don't think you can buy that type of contention for the Super Bowl, but I do believe that they did get better. I like Ellerby. I think he filled in really well for Ray Lewis. That might have been a product of the system. But I do think Miami runs a pretty stout defense down there. They had trouble last year, but they were young. Reggie Bush isn't really a go-to guy for any team. I think he's an asset to a good offense, and they tried to make him kind of the guy. I like Tannehill. I know he had a subpar year last year, but I think he's a pretty solid quarterback. I think he's one of those guys that can, if he doesn't make a lot of turnovers, he can not lose a game, if that makes sense. I don't think he's
no. That makes perfect
win
sense.
you a game in the fourth quarter, but I think he's good enough compared to what they've had in Miami for quarterbacks, So this was another one of those games where I had to really look ahead of the schedule too, and I think that we'll split with Miami this season, but us hosting them in December and it being in Ralph Wilson and not being in Toronto, I think that with that we'll probably get the loss in Miami, and then later in the season we'll make up that loss by beating them. There's no way they're coming home here in December and beating us in the cold, in my opinion. They better not, or we have bigger troubles than we thought. So now my record is at 3-4.
Oh man, you got them losing 4 straight, man. What's up, Aaron?
I told you after that Ravens game, man, they're going to slide, in my opinion. And back to the schedule. After the Dolphins, we head down to New Orleans to play the Saints. Another one of those NFC games that we've got to play this year. So what do you think about Saints?
Oh, man. The Saints, man. The Saints. Doug Marrone going back to New Orleans, going back to see his coach or his employer, Sean Payton. That offense is extremely potent. We all know that. They have an extremely explosive offense. Now we're going to be running, or reports are that we're going to be running a similar style offense to what the Saints run, as far as that vertical West Coast game. But that defense isn't what it's all cracked up to be. Now they did hire Rob Ryan, who is, in my opinion, an elite defensive coordinator. He's probably one of the top 5 D coordinators in the league. But like everywhere he goes, it always takes a year or two for that defense to actually, start gelling, because it is a very, complex defense. So I do feel that they're going to struggle as far as defense within their first, 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. But I do feel that, we are going to lose that game only because I don't believe we'll be able to keep up with that offense.
Yeah, this one's a tough game for me again. I really had to pound my head against the wall. But I think with Sean Payton getting suspended last season and Drew Brees having a down year, with really just trying to lead that team to as many victories as he could, I think he still had a decent year, but just record-wise, I think the Saints are on a mission, and I think Drew Brees is tough to stop, regardless of what's around him and regardless of what the defense is. That guy could kill us at any moment. There isn't a defense, no matter what we're doing. There's not a defense that he's scared of. I don't think
He's
there's
seen it
anything we
all.
can.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything we can throw at him that's really going to throw him off his game too bad. And maybe I'm building him up too much, but I see that as
Oh
another
no,
loss
yeah,
for the Bills.
he deserves all of it.
Yeah, I think they're a team on a mission this year to really stick it to the NFL after what happened. And again, I see it as another loss for Buffalo. Just too much experience at the quarterback position, and we know quarterbacks win games in the NFL. And Drew Brees is top 5 quarterback in the NFL at any given week. So,
Easy. Yep.
I just see that as a tough year to be playing the Saints, in my opinion.
Now, like I said, I don't want to call an EJ an RG3, but an RG3 gave him trouble last year, man. With that that running pass game, man. So I wouldn't be able to bet on them winning, but I don't know, man. That's going to be a tough game.
Oh yeah.
Either way.
Again, I think a lot of these are toss-ups, like I said, and but it continues the losing streak in my schedule here.
God,
and these guys are
I
grasping.
definitely hope that you're not right.
I know man. Me
much.
too. Me too. But I think, like I said, the season will end better than I originally thought. So we'll move along here for the sake of time.
So where are we at now? Our predictions.
Well, it's week 8, and I think I'm at 3-5. And where are you at here? So you give them.
I think I'm at 4-3, right? Or
4-3. Or
5-3. Sorry.
5-3.
Yep.
All right. I hope you're right. It'll be a lot better winter if you're correct. So then, Kansas City Chiefs coming to Buffalo. One of those classic AFL games. Chiefs versus Bills. I used to love these games in the 90s. What's your opinion on what had the worst record last year, the Chiefs, coming into Ralph Wilson Stadium?
Nothing's going to change, man. I mean, we've tended to dominate the Chiefs, especially the year that we played them week 1. I believe it was 2 years ago, where we absolutely destroyed them. And it's kind of weird that the NFL is giving us the Chiefs every single year. So it's almost like an easy win for us every single year, in my opinion, man. Andy Reid, bringing that, pass-heavy offense that he is bringing from Philly. Our pass defense has always been solid. It's always been our rush defense that's given us a problem. So, with an offense that, in my opinion, is not going to really run that much, I do think that, we're going to beat the Chiefs easily, in my opinion.
This is the final loss in a losing streak that I have. I think that the Chiefs are the best non-playoff team this year. I think they had a real rough run last year. I think the Matt Castle days are over. I think they had some major injuries that helped facilitate the loss column that they had. I think Andy Reid bringing his experience over. He only had that one down year. Well, I guess kind of 2 down years in Philly. I think Alex Smith is an upgrade from Matt Castle. Do I think he's the savior of the Chiefs? No. I think he's got enough experience to kind of hold down the fort till they find their franchise guy.
But now, real quick, is Alex Smith a system quarterback? Because he was below average, before Harbaugh came into town, and then all of a sudden he became a solid quarterback. So, we got to look at that too.
He might be a system guy, but at the same time, that Niners team really didn't have weapons until Harbaugh really came into town because the weapons they did have, Vernon Davis, uh, Singletary didn't want to use. Singletary's ego kind of got in the way, and Singletary wasn't a very good offensive coach. That team remained defensive minded while Singletary was there, and he was all kinds of other problems. Um, I don't think Alex Smith is a great quarterback, but I think he's good enough to get these guys wins. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're better than their record showed last year. Charles is a dynamic back. I think he can present a lot of issues similar to how Spiller does. His speed is top notch. He's a premier playmaker who just had a down year because of injuries last year, really. So, again, this was one of those ones that's just a toss-up game, and because I was trying to stay within what I think is a realistic win-loss column for the Bills this year, and based on Vegas's predictions, this was one that I gave them the loss in because I had to look ahead and find where I found the wins for them, and so this.
Yeah,
this
but when
ends
was the
that
last
losing
time you
streak
lost
for
to the
me.
Chiefs, though, man? God, 5 or 6
Right, but
straight losses? You're tough, man.
I know, but in sports though, you can't just when you say, we always beat the Chiefs or we always do this. That's when you lose.
No, no, I
Uh,
mean, no, no. It's always true, but there's certain teams that you match up well against, and we've always matched up well against the Chiefs because of their personnel. I mean, their personnel hasn't really changed that much since like 4 years ago. I mean, they've had the same personnel except for the quarterback position, but is Alex Smith that much better than a Matt Castle? But I don't know. I don't know.
I guess only time will tell.
Exactly.
I do think he is that much better than
Okay.
Castle.
Okay.
As far as enough to get more wins than Matt
Of
Castle
course.
brought to the Chiefs.
I mean, 2 wins. I
And,
mean, it'll be
right.
easy to get more than two.
Yeah, and if Charles is healthy again, I think that he's one of those playmakers that can really cause any
Of
team
course.
trouble.
Of course.
And I really like Bo. I think Dwayne Bowe
Oh yeah,
is
he's a stud.
I was hoping that he'd come to the Bills this offseason and they weren't going to pay him all that much, and they did. So again, though, I hope the Bills win this game, and if they can win 2 or 3 of these games during this losing streak that I gave them, they're a legitimate playoff contender, and I'm the happiest guy here in Buffalo. Steelers at Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts on this game?
The Steelers at Pittsburgh. I do believe that this is going to be a tough game, but a winnable game. The Steelers doesn't really have that much offense left. Their running back, Mendenhall, is gone. I know they have another guy back there, but their running game hasn't really been that good since a Willie Parker, / their own Bettis. Mendenhall, he was good, but injuries kind of, sidelined him. They lost Mike Wallace. They don't really have much, offensive talent right now. Now, Big Ben, in my opinion, he's probably one of the biggest, clutch quarterbacks in the league. I've always been a huge fan of Big Ben. I give him, much respect. But their defense, man. I mean, is Polamalu going to be healthy? They lost James Harrison. Their defense is somewhat getting, slower and older. So I do believe that it's going to be one of those, surprise wins, man. Pittsburgh's offensive line has always struggled. I think the pressure that we're going to be putting on Big Ben is going to be pretty fierce. Mario Williams always played good against the Steelers, and I think our offense is just going to be extremely explosive, man. So I give us the win against Pittsburgh.
I'll be real quick on my thought on that. Again, I think the Steelers are on the outs. I think Big Ben's the best thing they've got going. So I give Buffalo the win on this one. I don't think it's not a surprise to me looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just think that they're on the outs in that division. They're at the end of their run. They had a great run, but it's coming to an end, and a team with a little bit of upside like the Buffalo Bills will be able to knock them off, in my opinion. So yeah. I give the Bills the win, moving them to 4-6 in my book. Where are you at?
I believe I'm at 7-3, man. If I'm not mistaken, I gave them the win last one, right?
Yep.
Yep, 7-3.
7-3. All right, then we come back to Buffalo for our second, wrapping up our series with the Jets. Uh, Jets in Buffalo. What are your thoughts there?
I think if they do actually become good, they're going to be good, late during the season. They're going to start off slow, trying to figure out things. If Geno Smith is the starter week 1, he might struggle the first 4 or 5 weeks, and then he might, start to pick it up late during the season. And I do feel that it'll be one of those games where Rex Ryan just makes sure that he doesn't go 0-2 against the Bills, man. I think, the Jets defense has always been solid, even though their offense, struggled or, has struggled. But I do feel that we're going to lose to the Jets at home, actually, week 11.
Again, AFC's games are always toss-ups. I give the Bills the win on this one. I see the Jets having a really down year, a little bit more down than what the Bills are looking at with the record I have them at. Again, though, I could see the Bills splitting this series, so don't be surprised if they say lose week 1, even though I had them winning, week 3 in the first
Yeah.
matchup. But I do give them the 2 wins this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if they split. So that moves the Bills going into the bye week for me at 5-6, and you're at 7-4 going into the bye week, week 12. Which in my record, they're really excited to get a bye.
Yeah.
And in your record, they just could use.
They might go downhill from here.
And then week 13, we go to Toronto for the dreaded Toronto series, playing the Atlanta Falcons. How do you feel about that game?
I'm not going to really say too much on this one. You're going to lose this game. The Falcons offense, I'm a huge fan of. I think they will have the best offense in the league this year. So I give us a loss on this one, man. I don't really have to break this one down too much.
Yeah, there's not much I have to break down about it. Playing in Toronto sucks.
Exactly.
We never play well in Toronto. The Seahawks busted us up last year in Toronto. Nobody even cared that the game was on. And the Falcons were a game away from the Super Bowl. The Bills are not at that level yet. The Falcons are one of the elite teams in the NFL.
Yep.
This game, in my opinion, is going to be an ugly game for the Bills, and I just don't see a way that they can pull out a win.
Yep.
So that moves my record 5-7, and you're at 7-5, if I'm correct.
Yep, perfect.
7-5. So then we'll wrap up the schedule here quick, just for the sake of time. Week 14 at the Bucks. What are your thoughts there?
I give us a win on that one. I'm not sold on a Josh Freeman. I think he's going to struggle. So I give us a win against the Bucks.
I kind of like the Bucks. I like their coach. I like what he was able to do with that defense. I think they were in a similar position to what we're going through this year, where they were just on the outs. No respect for the organization. They brought a new coach from college, really infused a new attitude there. And they had a building year last year. And I see the Bills being similar this season. I don't love Josh Freeman, but I like Josh Freeman. I think bringing in Glennon is going to provide a spark under him that it's either going to make or break him. He's either going to have a really good year and win that job, or he's going to be out of town.
Yep.
I see their running game's real solid. I think they're like 1 year ahead of the Bills, like I said. So I see the Bills going into Tampa Bay and coming out with a loss. So that moves them to 5-8 on mine, and on yours, I believe 8-5.
Yep.
Awesome. So in your record, they are battling playoff spots.
Yeah, man.
Right up there with New England. So that'd be a great season, man. I'm hoping so. And we head back down to Florida for another matchup. This time going up against the Jags, week 15. Not much to talk about in this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Give them the win on this one. Their offense was dreadful last year. Now, Maurice Jones-Drew, if healthy, he's an absolute stud. But their defense really isn't, that good. So I give them the win on this one.
Yeah, I give them an easy win on this one. The Jags are, in my opinion, in the worst position of any franchise in the NFL. The fans don't even.
If they get Tebow, though, who knows, man? If they get Tebow, they might go to the bowl.
right? Well, at least ESPN will think so,
Exactly.
but no, I don't see the Jaguars winning many games again this year. The fans don't care. It's not really a big home game. I think we go down there, leave Florida with a win. In my record book, putting us at 6-8. Yours putting us at 9-5. Head into Week 16, our second matchup with the Miami Dolphins in Buffalo in December. What do you got there?
I definitely give us, well, I won't say definitely, but I give us a win on this one because of the same, scenario that I gave on the first matchup. Same thing. Their defense really doesn't, scare anybody, and yeah, I give us a win on this one.
I also give us a win on this one. I think it's going to be really tough for Miami to win both the games against the Bills. AFC East play each other tough. I think we're going to split this series, and if we're going to take one of those games, I think it's going to be the one at home in December with the Bills fans on their feet. We got to, after the losing streak I had them, we got to make a rush to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah.
So that puts the Bills at 7-8 in my book, 10-5 in yours. Going to the last game of the season at New England against the Patriots, the guys that have ran the AFC East for the last decade. How do you feel about that?
I think this is going to be one of those, pressure games. One of those games where, we might have to win the division. And with the Patriots already, they've been there. They've been there before. They, I think we're going to lose this game. But even with the loss, I do think with a 10-6 record, we still make the playoffs.
I've just seen it too many times. Having lived in New England, not a lot of teams go to New England in December and come out of there with a win.
Yep.
I don't think Buffalo has the experience yet to go in there and actually do it. If they do it, it'll be a huge shock, and Buffalo might riot on the streets of Buffalo. So I do see them getting a loss in that game. But I think it's one of those games that's really going to build towards next season. I think if they play the Pats tough and show that they can hang with them, then there's a lot of excitement of being a real contender going into 2014. So your record to end the season, 10-6. That's playoff caliber record. I'm at 7-9, which could be borderline wild card depending on how other teams shake out.
7-9. No, I'm 7-9. They're done, man. They're not making the playoffs 7-9. It's just. I mean, you said that teams normally make playoffs 8-8. I haven't really seen that in a very very. I mean, maybe the Giants did it a few years back. So we're basing our predictions solely off of what we've seen from the teams last year or what we think those teams are going to be this year. So
right. Well,
I don't know, man. I don't want to.
That's all you can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Base predictions on. That's really all you can base predictions on. Otherwise,
that's true.
It's
that's
drawn out of a hat. I do think that while there's a lot of excitement in Buffalo, I'm really excited for the season.
Oh my God, yes, man.
I still think with all the change and all the turnaround that there's a lot of inexperience. There's a lot of inexperience in the systems, and so my schedule is really, worst case scenario. I'm trying to play devil's advocate because in the past I've gone through the schedule and been like, oh, that's a win, and I have us at 11, 12 wins, and that's the NFL season's a grind, and it's just not that easy to pull out. All the teams are pretty even, so I'm trying to play worst case scenario just to not get my hopes up. And
now your schedule is the absolute worst case scenario, in my opinion, only because if we go 7-9 again, or even 6-10, one, we're not making the playoffs, and two, we're gonna have a bad draft spot, man. We're gonna be picking 8th, 9th again.
Yeah, but I think too, say they win 7 games, anywhere between 6 and 8 games. I think that's a good building block for next year.
It definitely
if they only win the 2 games, then we're in more trouble than we thought we were.
I think if EJ Manuel is starting it and we win 6 to 8 games, then it'll be a good building point. If Kevin Cobb is a starter, then it's almost like we just wasted the season.
Sure. And to go back to Vegas' prediction of the 6.5, man, Vegas isn't wrong too often. That's smart money that they put on those prediction. So we'll see what they come up with closer to the season, and then we'll reapproach this. But I think it was a good chat,
Great
good
chat,
argument.
man.
And look forward more Hanging with the Herd coming soon. I just wrote Keith Pugh today, so hopefully we can get him on, talk about his OTA experiences here soon before minicamp starts up. Anything you want to add to that?
I did predict that, that Buddy Nix was going to draft EJ Manuel. So, I mean, I'm the prophet right now, man. Who knows, man? 10-6. That's where we're going, man.
I might have to come down there and hug you if they go to 10-6. But again, I'm trying to be,
of course,
I'm trying to keep myself somewhat centered and not get too excited because they let me down too many times. So hopefully they change my mind. But all right, guys, Hanging with the Herd here, signing out. Stay posted for some more episodes coming real soon. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.